Hi everyone. We'll give a few more minutes for other people to join in and we'll get started in just a few minutes. All right, good morning, afternoon, evening to everyone. This is Laura Sonblad and Evelyn Janssen at the GOGLA office here in the Netherlands. We're very pleased to welcome you to today's webinar. We're a small group today, so please feel free to ask questions in the question box throughout the webinar. We are running these webinars now for the second time. The recording will be available afterwards. We have another edition also tomorrow. And the purpose of this webinar is really to make sure that everyone has the information that they need to be able to participate in the Global Off-Grid Solar Market Report sales data collection. So we will be going through a little bit of information on what the solar market report actually is and what are some of the key findings from the previous round. We'll be looking at the benefits of participating in this report. And then the bulk of the webinar will be focusing on how to use the online platform where the data is collected. And as I mentioned, questions can be asked throughout using the question box, and at the end we'll also have time for any questions that you still have left over. So what is the Global Off-Grid Solar Market Report? This is a report that the Global Off-Grid Lighting Association, so us at GOGLA, and our partners at Lighting Global, which is at IFC in Washington, D.C., we produced this report together for several different reasons. So we first and foremost want to serve our members and associates with timely data about their sector. We provide them with a confidential individual market report, which is accessible via the online platform. We also provide a PDF report that our members and associates can share with others, and we provide crucial information for public consumption. So we provide a public market report that shows aggregate level data on a regional and global basis. In this report, we combine sales and impact data. So we collect information from our members on how many products and what kinds of products they've sold in different markets. And then we use that data to inform calculations on the socioeconomic impacts that those products have on customers' lives. And like with the sales data, we also provide the impact data both on a company level as well as on an aggregate global level. Without this information, we wouldn't really be able to say how the market is growing, what changes there have been, what changes have there been in the products. It's really a crucial piece of information both for us as an association as well as for Lighting Global in shaping their strategy, and then crucially for all of our members as they build their business development strategies. What is shown in this report? So we produce this report every 6 months. So in the forthcoming report, you'll be able to see the aggregate results for January to June of 2017. And in the individual report, as I mentioned, you'll see individualized market shares per product category for that same 6-month period. If you participate in this process, you'll be able to get your individualized market share report. If you don't participate in the process, you'll only have access to what's publicly available. As I mentioned, what we aim to do with this is really to provide concrete and substantiated market intelligence to help make better decisions in this sector. And that's why we don't extrapolate results, we don't make forecasts, we only report exactly what's been reported to us, subject to the confidentiality requirements that we have. That means that we only report publicly for those products and those markets where at least 3 companies are providing information to us. So a little bit more on the data sharing and confidentiality. So this is like I mentioned, a collaboration between GOGLA and IFC, and we also work very closely with Berenschot Management Consultancy. Berenschot is a leading Dutch management consultancy specializing in industry associations, and they are our trusted technical partner in this sales data collection. And so only select employees within those 3 organizations have access to the full data set. And then what we make public has to fulfill the 3 data point rule. So if you're looking at the report and you're wondering, why can't I see data from a specific country or maybe from a specific product category, that's probably because there hasn't been enough data to make it public. So what are some of the highlights from the previous round of data collection? So last year, over 8 million off-grid solar products were sold. So these include solar lanterns and small solar home systems. In this data collection, we only collect information on products that are sold as a single kit. So larger products that tend to be sold as components aren't included yet in our data collection. So if you're selling inverters and panels and charge controllers all separately, those would not be included in these figures. And as I mentioned, these figures only include sales that are reported to us by IFC Lighting Global Associates or by GOGLA members. Globally, we see that there was there were slightly more products sold in the first half of the year than in the second half of the year. And so now in this upcoming round, we'll see, is that still the case, or do we see a recovery in H1 2017? In terms of revenue, so what we ask companies to report to us are their sales volumes and then their FOB price for a shipment of 1,000 products. And from that, we calculate cash sales revenues. So the figure that you see here, the about 114 million, that does not include revenues from so-called pay-as-you-go sales. In this last half year, we did for the first time report also on pay-as-you-go revenues. That was about $40 million for that half year, but that's a significant underestimation because not all pay-go companies provided us with revenue data. A note on quality verification. So as many of you know, Lighting Global runs a quality verification program. And so in this data collection, many of the companies do participate in the Lighting Global quality verification. So from the sales that are reported to us, the vast majority are quality verified. But again, this is a partial view, because globally, of course, there are counterfeits and generics that are being sold, but those products aren't included in our sales data collection. As I mentioned, there was a decrease in cash sales revenues and volumes in the second half of 2016 compared to the first half of 2016. We do hope to see a recovery now in H1 2017, but at the same time, we caution against making too many judgments based on sort of single half-year periods, because of the still nascent nature of many of the markets, where one large order or one large company can significantly sway results. One of the reasons that we are investing quite a lot into the sales data collection this round is so that we would be able to make better time series analysis as time goes by. Overall, though, we see that since 2010, we have over 27 million products reported as being sold. And again, the majority of those are quality verified in our data collection. So this is the kind of information that we would not be able to say if we didn't go through this process every 6 months. And that's why we really emphasize to our members and associates how important it is to participate in the data collection from round to round, so that we build ever more robust and ever more expansive body of data about our sector. Here are some of the regional results. So we see very clearly that East Africa and South Asia are crucial markets for our members. At the same time, the figures shown here for South Asia are actually an underestimation, because in the last round we were not able to report on Bangladesh because we had fewer than 3 companies reporting. So the South Asian sales are underestimated here. We now are able to say a little bit more also about the secondary markets. So for example, about Latin America and Caribbean and Middle East and North Africa, because now, unlike in rounds prior, we ask companies to report on all countries in the world where they have sales. So now we'll be able to say more about what happens, for example, in Indonesia, and Mexico, and Papua New Guinea, and other places where before we didn't have such granular information. So this is what I mentioned. Sales are very highly concentrated in East Africa and in India. We also see that different types of products are popular in those markets. So we ask companies what the power of the panels that they sell are. We ask for runtime, we ask for lumen hours, and that gives us the ability to say things like, in East Africa, we see more of the multiple light and charger products sold. And part of the reason why more of those are sold in East Africa is because of the popularity of the pay-as-you-go business model, which makes these products more affordable and more accessible to customers. This is a snapshot of the impact metrics that we're able to calculate based on the sales data figures. So again, this is a standardized set of impact metrics with certain default coefficients. Each company gets an estimate for their company's impact as well as their impact per product. And then we are able to give a global view of what our impact is as a sector. And this is crucial information for donors, for governments, for others who are looking to accelerate energy access globally. So if that isn't enough yet to convince you to participate in this report, we do have a few notes from previous participants to sort of give a little bit more flavor on what do companies do with this information. So this is the most authoritative data set on the off-grid solar market that exists. And it is very important for the companies that we work with or who are our members for them to communicate with their investors and with government agencies and with anyone else that they need to directly lobby. It also helps us as GOGLA and as Lighting Global that we're able to say things that are based on actual data and not just on anecdotes or sort of more indirect information. So Radhika Thakkar from Greenlight Planet says that these really help Greenlight Planet, which is one of the leading companies in the sector, to decide how and where they spend their time and resources, and even what markets to expand to. And as I mentioned, now we can say more about individual markets as we get more and more companies to participate and more granular data. And it helps Greenlight Planet to see where they stand in relation to the rest of the market. D-Light, which is another leading company in the sector and another GOGLA member, encourages new companies to participate, that there's a lot to gain by sharing information. So the data itself is kept completely confidential, and by sharing it, you definitely gain more than you spend. Total, which is runs the Awango by Total distribution program, and is also a GOGLA member and an active member of our board, says that the clear and detailed market reports are needed to attract new players and investors into the sector. So these also help people to see what's actually going on and where they can play a role. And again, this is the most accurate database to determine Total's position in the off-grid solar market. It's the main tool that they use to know where they stand. This is a snapshot of the results platform. So in the last round in H2 2016, we for the first time introduced an online platform where companies can explore their results. And this is something that we'll be building on as we go forward, making some further improvements and tweaks this round. But this is a way to present the information in a little bit more accessible way, because as we keep getting more and more information and more data, we're constantly looking for ways to make it as useful as possible to companies. So then, how do you participate? How do you get onto the online platform? First, a note on the timeline. So we are opening the questionnaire actually tomorrow on Friday, July 7th, and it will be open for 3 weeks. And that's the time when companies are able to provide their data. It's a pretty straightforward process if you've done it before. If it's your first time, it takes a little bit longer. But we try to make it as easy as possible. Then for a few months after that, together with Barenshot and Lighting Global, we'll be processing the data. So we'll be doing quality control. We might follow up with companies if there's questions that we have. And we'll be not so much building the results platform because it is built now, but we'll be improving the results platform to make it even more useful. And then in October, we'll be publishing the individual reports and the public report. And then that's only a few short months until January, and we start again with H2 2017. So how does the platform look? You start from data.gogla.org. So for everyone who's been invited to participate in this process, you have either already received a login link in the previous round, and you can just use your own username and password. If it's your first time participating, then you'll be receiving a login link from us now on July 7th. Once you log in, you come to the home page, and you can see here that there's a button for data collection for the Global Off-Grid Solar Market Report H1 2017, Start or Continue Questionnaire. So that's where you start the questionnaire. You don't have to do it all in one sitting. You can log in and out. You can collaborate with a colleague. If you collaborate with a colleague, though, you need to both have your own accounts. So you can see in the Manage Access, you can add colleagues so that they have their own access to the questionnaire. If you share your password with your colleague and then you try to log in at the same time, the platform won't let you, because then we'll have issues of data being overridden by one or the other. What you can also see here is that some people can have access to the questionnaire and to the results. Others will only have access to the results or only have access to the questionnaire. That's up to you and your company to decide. Then to start the survey, so this is just showing the flow. You start with instructions, you have general questions, you have product specification, product sales, and then you review and submit. You can do this in any order that you want. If you need to go back and forth, you can. But you do have to do general questions first. General questions, I'll show you, is where you enter some basic information on what kind of company you are, what kind of products you sell. We do ask you to fill in as much of the questionnaire as you possibly can. That helps us to give you a complete report back. And there are some questions that if you don't answer them, you won't be able to submit the questionnaire. And again, we have preloaded as much data as possible, but if it is your first time participating, then you'll need to spend a little bit longer filling in the data yourself. But it'll be easier next time around because then it'll be saved. The information does save automatically in the questionnaire. But if you want to leave the platform completely but not yet submit it, just click Save and Exit, and then you can log in later at a different time. And then remember at the end, you need to submit the questionnaire. So you need to say finalize and submit, and then it'll really go through. There's a few tools to help you if you need them. So there's an Excel spreadsheet, which is a blank spreadsheet that has all the same questions as the online form. You can download that if you, for example, need to send it to your colleague in Ethiopia to put in the Ethiopian sales, or you need to send it to your colleague who does your technology work to put in the product specifications. But this is only a help, so it's not enough to do the spreadsheet, and you don't have to do the spreadsheet. If you send us a spreadsheet that you filled in, we'll send it back to you and ask you to go to the online form and fill it in on the online form. And that's really for purposes of quality control. So it's up to each company to take responsibility of their data. And that's why we ask you to do it on the online form. And that's from the online form, the data goes directly into the database where we then do quality control and data cleaning. So the spreadsheet is to help you if you need it, but you don't have to use it. Frequently asked questions is exactly that, just has a lot of things that people have asked us about the platform. So if you are doing this for the first time, we do suggest that you take a look and see if there's any questions that you have. There's also an export PDF option. This is, if you filled in the questionnaire and you want to have a PDF record, you can. That's available to you. In Notes, you can write notes to your colleagues as you're filling it in. And then Contact Help Desk is where you can write questions that come to us then, to Eveline, who's sitting right here next to me, and then we'll see who can best help you, if it's a technical issue or if it's a content issue. But we do suggest that you look at the frequently asked questions first, just because sometimes your answer will already be there. So then to start on general questions, these are easy but important questions. So things like company name, we need you to enter your company name. And then importantly, you need to distinguish your company. Is it a manufacturer or is it a non-manufacturing distributor? This is important because we try to avoid double counting. So if a manufacturer is already reporting sales of a product, we don't then want a distributor to also report those sales, and then we would say that actually twice as much has been sold as what really has been sold. So if you only distribute other people's products, you should still participate. You'll still get a market share report. It's still valuable information, but you should make sure that you then identify yourself as a non-manufacturing distributor so that we don't double count in the aggregate. Then important question 3, this is where you specify which products you're selling. And so if you've participated before, this is preloaded, but you still need to go ahead and check that it's correct. If it's your first time, then you have to insert products yourself. And we did make a few improvements here compared to last time. So now you can identify which products you're actually currently selling. So in this case, for example, this fictitious company has 2 products, the Great Bright product and the Super Shiny Bright Light. Now, the Great Bright product, though, actually, they didn't sell any in H1 2017. So the participant has clicked, no, we didn't sell it. So then a pop-up comes up that says, are you still selling this product? So maybe the company still offers it, but they just didn't manage to sell any for whatever reason. But in this case, no, this company has stopped selling Great Bright product, so they click no there. And that helps us to construct the database better, because now we can say, like, okay, this Great Bright product has been decommissioned. We know that we won't preload it in the next round. We know that we can count it as a historical sale, but that it's now kind of out of use. Then the second product here, Super Shiny Bright Light, yes, there were sales in H1 2017. And if the company had a third product, you could just click Add Product and then write it in. If you add a row by mistake, you can delete a row, but otherwise you shouldn't delete rows. You just say whether you're still selling the product. You can also change the order of products. That's another improvement that we made from last time around. If you want to make them alphabetical or by size or by number or whatever order you want them in, you can do that. Then we ask where you sell products. So first, which regions, and then which countries within those regions. And those countries will show up then on the product sales page. If you forget something, you can always come back and add it. So, you know, this company, for example, maybe they forgot that actually they did have some sales in Bhutan, so they could come back and check that later. Then there's questions on, so after general questions, we go into product specifications. And the reason that we ask for the product specifications is really for the impact metrics. If we don't have the product specifications, we can't calculate the impact metrics. We need to know what the runtime is, what the lumen hours are, what the warranty is. All of that stuff is needed for the impact metrics. And again, all of this data is preloaded as long as you've participated before and you've sold this product before. So for new products, it takes a little bit more time, but for old products, you just have to check that the information is correct. One important question within product specifications is about pay-as-you-go. So here, if you are offering the product to end users as pay-as-you-go yourself, then you should answer yes. If you sell it to someone else and then they sell it as pay-as-you-go, then answer no. But if you are directly interacting with the customer on a pay-as-you-go basis, then say yes. And then we ask for the total number of clients for that product and for the total actual cash collected. So this is because the free onboard price doesn't really work for pay-as-you-go, but we do want to build an understanding of what are the pay-go revenues like. And we consulted extensively with our members and associates on how should we be collecting this information, since there are different accounting methods for pay-go being used. And we did come to the mutual conclusion that the total actual cash collected is the simplest measure. So if you are a pay-go provider, we do hope that you'll be answering these questions. Obviously, the same confidentiality rules apply here as everywhere else. So the 3 data point rule applies. Okay, so then we get to the real meat of the questionnaire, which is the product sales. So this page, the way that it looks depends on what you've answered before. So if you, for example, this company only sold this one product, Super Shiny Bright Light, and then they identified which countries they've sold it in. So Ethiopia, Kenya, Nigeria, and Tanzania. And then here you would enter the numbers of how many products you've sold for that product in those markets. The platform then calculates the total automatically. And just enter the numbers, don't enter any punctuation, periods, anything like that. You don't need to. If you haven't sold some of these products, you can go back and take it out, or you can leave the relevant column blank. We do also ask for historical sales. There's a few reasons why we ask for this. One is just to do some double checking. One is because we have new companies joining, and for the impact metrics, again, we have to look a little bit further back. So we do ask for historical sales, but again, this is pre-populated wherever possible. It is a little bit of a tricky question because we ask for full year data and then we ask for half year data for 2016. This is for various technical reasons on the back end, so we hope that you just bear with us and enter those for the half year. But again, these would be pre-populated for most companies who are participating. Then to review and submit, this is important to take a moment and look and see, are the numbers kind of about right? Is there anything that strikes you as completely out of the question? Maybe you meant to say 8,000, but actually you wrote 8 million or 800 or whatever. Just make sure that there's nothing like that, and that makes our life easier than in the quality control process. And then once you've checked and gone back, if there was anything to correct, then you click finalize and submit, and your questionnaire goes through. If you then afterwards realize, like, oh, I did make a mistake, you can email us, and if there's still time, we can reopen the questionnaire for you. But we try to avoid that because, as soon as the sooner we can get information in, the sooner we can get it back out to you. If you haven't filled in all the mandatory questions, there will be an error message that says you have to fill in those mandatory questions. The mandatory questions really just enable us to do any kind of report for you. So please be patient and go back, but we've tried to make it as easy as possible to also spot where those errors might be. And again, the survey will be open for 3 weeks, so make sure to submit within that 3 weeks. And also make our lives easier so we can make your lives easier, and just go ahead and submit whenever you're ready. And then you won't get as many emails from us to remind you either. Okay, so I think there's only a few of us on the call, but if there are any questions, I'm happy to take them, and otherwise we're available by email for questions afterwards. Yes, and the recording will be on YouTube. We'll also send the slides.